Peace, everyone. Shout out to you. Peace to Nadiya, Shah. Peace to Synchronicity University. I am the Hood Mystic, representing www.hoodmystic.com. August 4th, I will be premiering my first course for the Synchronicity University team and family, and that course will be titled ChakrAstrology. Now, over the past 3 years, I've been researching both of these topics extensively. The topic to be chakras and astrology. And so for the first time ever, I'm going to combine all of the things that I've learned in a concise, concentrated, easy to understand way. And I'm going to show you exactly how our personal planets connect to the 7 major chakras of the body. So once you look at your chart, you'll get a whole new understanding of exactly how your chakras and your astrology chart represent each other and then how they bounce off of things. So be sure to bring your chart with you and also an open mind as well as a pen and paper, because we're going to talk about some things that you've heard before, but you may have never heard them combined with other things in the space that they make sense. Easier way to understand this course is called syncretism, and it's a way that the ancients identified synchronicity in all things. So once again, shout out to the Synchronicity family for the opportunity, and it's going to be a dynamic class. I'm sure there's going to be a link in the description or the comments or somewhere for you to sign up. And if you don't see a link anywhere, just hit in your address bar, synchronicityuniversity.com, and sign up. ChakrAstrology, the Hood Mystic, August 4th, Synchronicity University, collision course, okay? It's about to get really spiritual up in here. Speaking of spirituality, Nadiya brought me here to talk to you guys today about the Neptune retrograde, and it takes place from June 25th all the way to December 1st. Maybe you know everything about it, or maybe you have no idea, and I just want to bring you some awareness and clarity about this period of time that we know in astrology as Neptune retrograde. So like I said, from June 25th to December 1st, Neptune will be retrograde. And if you don't know what Neptune is, nor do you know what a retrograde is, let me help you with an easier understanding. Every 160 days, Neptune retrogrades, and it retrogrades for a period for about 200 days. Every year, Neptune is retrograde for most of the year. Our understanding of Neptune should be in the space of understanding its retrograde periods. Since Neptune is a very slow moving planet, many people, I would say, don't fully understand what it is. And the reason, because it's very abstract and very esoteric and very spiritual. Good thing for you, I'm very abstract, very esoteric, and very spiritual. So I could be your translator for Neptune if you have a difficult time understanding it. So let's talk about it real quick. Let's first talk about Neptune. Neptune is a transpersonal planet. Now, transpersonal means transformational and then personal put together. So once we transform our personal lives, that means that everything that we were, basketball player, football player, regular human being, once we incorporate Neptune, there's a level of transformation that takes place. So for a majority of people, they stay their regular selves for a majority of their lives. When you incorporate Neptunian energy into your lives, by the very nature of it, you are subject to change. So why a person may or may not understand Neptune may be his ability or inability to change. So in understanding this time, are you ready for major changes? Then you might be ready for Neptune retrograde. If you want things to stay the same and you're happy with the life as it's set up and you have no complaints, no worries, everything is perfect, well, this Neptune retrograde period, this might be a regular period, because since it happens every year, it's not super intense. However, if you are looking for an opportunity for changing, or you're reaching at a level of frustration, this becomes a window for you to actually tap into yourself utilizing this Neptunian retrograde energy and period. So the major theme for Neptune's retrograde is developing a peace of mind, okay? Now, for the regular mundane person, a peace of mind isn't something that they really strive for. It's either a bigger house, a nicer car, and things like that. You ever see like a very, one would say like a spiritualist, or go to a fair and it's the person with the booth and they got all of the, sheepskin or the feathers in their hats and things like that. They're very spiritual and they're not like normal people. Well, when you see people like that, like the shamans, the root workers, the medicine men, the medicine women, these are what you would call Neptunian, because they're not out to live the fancy, highfalutin life more than they're just trying to have a peace of mind. And this could be a time for if you're older, getting up in age. I'm 36, about to be 37. And the things that I wanted when I was 26 and 27, they actually pair in comparison to the things that I want now. Right now, I'm in my Neptunian phase of life where I simply want a peace of mind. I don't have to have the nicest car, as long as my car runs. I don't have to have the nicest house, as long as my house is clean. But when I actually tap into how can I envelop, or what do I want, when I tap into what I want, the answer is very clear to me. A peace of mind and a sense of order and a sense of things are going to be okay. And that's what this Neptune retrograde provides. It can easily give you a sense of calm, a sense of peace if you're opening up to it. And in this video, I hope to teach you or give you some tips and tricks so you can begin to envelop or invite this sense of calm, peace, and overall goodness in your life. So bringing it back to the spiritual person, from the outside looking in, that person, he's probably wasting his time and energy. So from the outside looking in, the person who is like the root worker, the spiritualist, you might look at them and like, man, why don't they have a lot of money? Why don't they have a nice car? But from the inside looking out, the spiritualist might look at the person who's just working a 9 to 5 like, man, why don't they actually meditate? Why don't they tap into spiritual practices? Like, why don't they do something that brings about a peace of mind? So you can kind of see how both people can live in the same world and have two completely different understandings. If you have the time and the energy during Neptune retrograde, it might be a moment where you begin to not really focus on what you manifest, but focus in on the intrinsic or more hidden values that you could begin to create. Things of learning a new skill, things such as spending more time in nature, things as making sure that you take your children on a walk around the neighborhood every day, because that's more of a bonding period. Now, you're not going to get penalized for not taking your kid on the walk, but these could be more esoteric spiritual things that you do to develop a connection between you and your child. And so if you're just simply focusing on money and buying food for them, which would be more of the mundane way of looking on how to raise your children, the more spiritual way of looking at raising your children are the relationship building things that you do. The times that you, as a parent, incite positive experiences, such as taking them to Disney World or taking them to see the ducks at the park and things of that nature. For some people, this thing might be very natural to do, right? Because some people are more Neptunian than others. While for other people, this Neptune retrograde, you might be working double shifts, and once it becomes retrograde, it might dawn on you like, wow, I haven't been spending any time with my children, any time with my family. Let me stop working double shifts and work maybe a shift and a half, and that half a shift that I'm taking back, I now spend more time with my family, because it's not about us upsizing our homes, more it is to having quality experiences. What is a retrograde? Imagine Neptune and the Earth moving along the solar system almost like a racetrack. Well, the Earth is a part of the solar system. It is not the center of the solar system. So as it is going around the sun, it matches up with Neptune at least once a year. Every 365 days, the Earth matches up with Neptune. In this period where it matches up with Neptune is called the retrograde. Now, how I understand the retrograde and how I teach the retrograde is when a planet is close to the Earth. And when it's so close to the Earth, it has a particular influence on us. On the wheel of astrology, it looks like it's going backwards, when in fact, if you ever been driving on a highway and your car is traveling 75 and the car behind you is traveling 65, it may seem as though that the car next to you is moving backwards, when in fact the Earth is just moving at a different speed and seeing Neptune at a different angle. But sooner or later, this correction corrects itself, because your mom might say, "Oh, I'm driving too fast," and so she slows down. Then that car behind you then begins to pick up speed and then move past you. The car that you moved past wasn't going backwards. It's just that you were moving faster. So when understanding a retrograde, it's not like the planets are going backwards. It's just our observation from Earth. It may appear like it's going backwards, but the actual truth of the matter is that Neptune is closer to Earth than usual. And since it is closer to Earth, quite naturally, it would have a stronger influence. Now, to understand its influence, you just get into the keywords and the etymologies and understanding of Neptune. And so once you understand that, then you say that these energies are much closer to the Earth. And once you understand that these energies are more closer to the Earth, you can begin to utilize these functions, such as meditation, such as developing spiritual practices, such as spending more time in nature, or however you define or do your spirituality. Just like a Snickers bar or a Reese's Pieces, there's no wrong way to do your spirituality. Neptune is just an amplifier to the spiritual things that you like to do. And quite naturally, it could be as simple as going to church, or going to the temple, or going to the mosque. If that sits right in your being to do, you should not walk, but run, right? Because it's not about satisfying another person. Neptune is very personal, but it is to change you in your personal understanding. So, of course, when you look at the world, everything is set up and everything is logical and everything makes perfect sense. Until you start to peer in a little deeper on things and you're like, well, I thought you were the person who had all of their things together. Now, the more that I get to know you, I realize that that was an illusion, or that was a facade. What you'll notice is that, the more people that you meet, the more that these things tend to be normal than they are surprising. So if you do not understand the Neptune energy, you could imagine that everything you see on the surface is what it should be. But when you develop close and internal relationships and people don't have a sense of self or a peace of mind, and they're angry and distraught and in fear and sad and don't know how to develop a sense of just clarity, a sense of peace, spending time on the lake, spending some time to fish, walking the dog, enjoying life. They don't have this capacity. And the reason that they may not have this capacity, because they believe in their illusions. So once your illusions don't serve you, you just think that is something wrong with you and not in what you're creating. So ultimately, to get to a point of some sense of balance, you incorporate the Neptunian spiritual development, illusion remover energy to step into a zone of, I guess the zone would be balance of physical living. Okay, I live in the world. However, I do things that don't make sense, that are not as logical as people may think they are, but actually they work for me and I really enjoy it at a deep spiritual level. So what is that thing for you? that you just enjoy unequivocally. And it may not be a spiritual experience, but for you, it does feel like that, like turning on Pink Floyd and just loving the Pink Floyd CD. See, this might be what is spiritual to you. And from there, you begin to listen to that CD more as you go to sleep, or as you meditate, or as you drive, or as you work out. And because you're listening to this CD, it's giving you inspiration. It's making you feel good. And so say, for instance, you're feeling better. You're like, I don't want to go to the gym. But since you've been listening to your Pink Floyd CD, now you just, are excited to go to the gym, because guess what your workout CD is? The Pink Floyd tape, or I can't think of the CD. I probably should on the screen, but y'all know what CD I'm talking about, or record, or MP3, whatever you listen to music on nowadays. But yeah, it doesn't have to be something that somebody else is doing, but it has to be something that satisfies your soul and satisfies your inner being. And from this perspective, everything, well, it does work out in a way that you're not trying to have it work out like society says you need to have it to work out. But when it works out for you, then that's personal satisfaction. And ultimately, nobody can specifically tell you how to be personally satisfied. So Neptune retrograde is that zone that you are in your, dare I say, bag. And in your bag, there's a whole selection of things that you could begin to do to enrich your life on the inside. And a lot of people, man, they never take the time to think about this specific time and window. They are so caught up in the bills that needs to be paid, the expansion that needs to be done on the house, the repairs that need to be done on the cars, that they never take the time to invest in their spiritual life. So if the messages that are being brought forth to you up until this point resonate with you, that may be a deeper indication that during this Neptune retrograde period that you begin to investigate and begin to, create like a spiritual development plan. Whenever I do readings, whenever I talk to people, I always call Neptune the planet of spiritual development. And depending on its sign, depending on its house, it's where you can really develop your spiritual gifts. So for the holistic family, this is a time to really focus in on manifestation energy. Now, the reason that I say that is in Vedic astrology, Neptune is right in the nakshatra of what is called Purva, Bhadra, Pada. Now, Purva is Sanskrit for the beginning. Bhadrapada is Sanskrit for to form, or right before birth. So when you put it together, it is the moment right before birth. So Neptune is retrograding on this particular period, right before the truth is going to manifest. And this is a period, a very powerful period, where we can say, maybe I was going down the wrong path and now I want to redirect this path. I want to manifest something that maybe I don't know what it is that I want to manifest, but I know that it's something greater on the horizon for me. And instead of focusing on it specifically, I'm going to take this time from June 25th to December 1st of 2021 to really find myself, because the external is going to be the external. I may not be in the place that I want to be externally based upon the world. However, with everything that's going on externally, nothing is coming in between me developing my spiritual life. And what would be the benefit of developing my spiritual life? I will have a peace of mind. So regardless if I have the latest Mercedes Benz, or regardless if I'm in the biggest estate on the block, I'm still happy being me. This is how I truly feel this Neptune retrograde period will play out for the collective if they are ready to tap into a spiritual life. The deeper reality is that you're going to manifest things at a high level, whether you know it or not. The idea is not to be attached to what you manifest, but to be attached to the motor or the development or the actual fact of how you manifest. Now, how do you manifest? Spiritual development. So this is a powerful time, and I just want to go over some quick things that I talked about in this video, quick reminders, and then I'll send you guys along to enjoy the rest of your day, morning, or evening. So overall, this period is for you to evaluate some core issues. I'm going to highlight a few core issues that you can begin to work through during this Neptune retrograde period. So here we go. This Neptune retrograde helps you remove all illusions that hold you back from true wealth, true love, true romance, and true success. This Neptune retrograde may remove people, places, and things that represent this initial illusion. This Neptune retrograde period may bring awareness to the things that are illusions that you may have known or not known. So if you know that they're an illusion and you don't remove it, it may become more of a sore spot in your reality. If you know it's illusionary, then it's best to separate from it, because you want to establish real energy in your life, not illusionary. And Neptune helps you point out those illusions so you can make the proper decisions. Take some time during this period to develop a spiritual awareness that specifically works for you. Be patient, because Neptune is a slow-moving planet and it doesn't change things overnight. One of the key words to Neptune is development. So if you have an end in mind, trust that you would develop into it during this 6-month process. Now, there's some things to watch out on the external. You got to watch out for people, because with all of this being said, as I said it earlier, a majority of people will not tap into the spiritual side of life for whatever reason. And it is not your job to police them or make sure that they develop spiritual energy. It is your job to develop a specific system that works for you. Figure out where Neptune is at in your chart. Figure out what the sign it is. Figure out the house it is in. And this is where you can develop your skills and talents and abilities to the highest level. But you have to be patient, and you have to understand that the most important part to Neptune is development. And so to conclude, this period is not about all the money that you have, all of the success that you attain. If you were to surmise it and to break it down to its smallest root understanding, this Neptune retrograde period to me is about having peace, true peace, authentic, sincere peace in your heart and in your mind. And these things take time, so be patient with yourself. Follow your intuition. If it says go to the park today, don't say, well, I gotta work and I gotta make this money. Say, okay, self, you're telling me to go to the park. I'm gonna go to the park. I'm gonna enjoy my evening. And this is, the process of developing a spiritual system that specifically works just for you. So, as I stated earlier, August 4th, I will be on synchronicityuniversity.com teaching a live lecture, and that lecture will be ChakrAstrology. The books that I will be covering on this course will be books written by me. Those books are titled Astrology Explained, and my new book that just came out in May, Chakra Nova. This is going to be a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime experience, literally, because I will not be talking about this on any other platform except Synchronicity University. So if you want some exclusive content and some exclusive information, you need to hurry up and sign up for Synchronicity University if you haven't already. Once again, I want to thank Nadiya, Shah, and the whole Synchronicity University staff for this opportunity. And let's have a wonderful Neptune retrograde period, family. And if you need to find me or talk to me on any level, the best way to get in contact with me is via email. My email address is hoodmystic@gmail.com. If you are interested in my services or my books or anything like that, please visit www.columbianexchange.com, and that's exchange with an X. Or you could visit my personal website and blog, www.hoodmystic.com. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And I will see all of you guys August 4th at Synchronicity University to talk about chakra astrology. And I cannot wait to see you guys there. Peace.